Not too long ago, I posted a video about the corporate path of least resistance. Basically, companies don't care about you. There are always exceptions to the rule, but by and large, most corporations operate on a defining principle of maximized profit and minimized outrage. The examples I gave mostly pertain to the ongoing civil unrest in America and how major companies were publishing probably the most shallow form of support that they could while attempting to align themselves with what they speculated might be a growing supermajority of activists. There were examples like the San Francisco 49ers, who posted extremely shallow "We support you" tweets despite the fact that they and the NFL at large had fundamentally rejected a previous and somewhat antecedent event where Colin Kaepernick had knelt during the national anthem for similar reasons. Flash forward, and the NFL themselves have also come out with a catch-all statement about how they were wrong and they support the continually revolving door of demands and desires that the movement is currently producing. That's just a couple of examples there, and the list of companies engaging in this type of pandering is extremely long. I don't think I can sit here and pretend that it's strictly speaking wrong for them to do this. In fact, a great many companies have now made donations as well to various charities or activist causes. I don't think it's valid to claim that they do so with maligned intentions, and depending on where the money goes, it can have a decently positive or negative effect, but very little of that has to do with the company itself. Activision Blizzard, who has a, shall we say, less than stellar reputation in the industry right now, said the following when announcing a charity initiative. Grounded in our values of excellence and inclusion, we are proud to support efforts focused on educational access and opportunity. CEO Bobby Kotick announced yesterday his $1 million donation to support the United Negro College Fund, the Equal Justice Initiative, and Management Leadership for Tomorrow, along with a $1 million personal pledge and a $1 million pledge from Activision Blizzard to match employee donations. With the goal of raising over $4 million for these organizations, we are honored to join them in providing transformative opportunities to Black Americans and fighting against systemic inequality. I'm not here to donation shame anyone, but the ridiculousness of this particular hypocrisy when compared to their treatment of Blitz Chung when it came to the advocacy against human rights violations in Hong Kong, well, yeah, it kind of speaks for itself. China is a very big market. China has tightly controlled approval committees. It is also mandated that international business entities work closely with a Chinese partner in order to operate within the country. And there is a Chinese law in place stating that most companies, under a certain set of parameters, which do apply to NetEase, by the way, which is Activision Blizzard's personal partner over there, must have a CCP representative department, which basically means that to do business in China, the government gets a direct voice in what you say or do. And maintaining that massive and expanding consumer market is more important to Blizzard than a political stance with regard to Hong Kong specifically. The gist of it is companies, as a generalization, again, exceptions do exist to this, but typically speaking, major companies only align themselves with any political stance at all when they perceive that alignment to be the most risk-averse position available, and they will also compulsively hedge their bets whenever possible. To really showcase this, we need to look at Bethesda and Nickelodeon. Bethesda is probably the most obvious example, and as a result, they have now been chronicled in the archives of internet meme culture because of the glaringly obvious flexible standards and their total lack of any true position. June is Pride Month. Pride Month is inevitably a corporate carnival of how do we tap into the enthusiastic celebrations to sell more stuff and get more viewers. Bethesda honestly led the charge and right at the onset changed their profile pictures on a host of separate accounts to rainbows. The funny thing was, certain Bethesda accounts did not do this, such as Russia and the Middle East profiles. The reason for that is quite simple. In those areas, the overarching governmental structures are not as receptive to the celebration. This is not to say that people there have any diverging values or opinions. I am honestly really not qualified to speak on that at all, but the social standards in, for example, the Middle East are vastly different than North America, and the gestures of solidarity, support, and allegiance to this cause stop dead in their tracks directly before they reach those markets, and they take no steps further, because it has never been about pushing a cause, and has always been about morphing and manipulating public perception. Bethesda is also donating $250,000 to charitable causes as a result of civil unrest in America right now. Again, the complexity of who you give to and what those organizations truly do with the money aside, this has nothing to do with an allegiance to the cause, and has everything to do with an attempt at mitigating the anger that has now bubbled over in the wake of multiple separate Black Swan events coalescing in the span of just a few months. Nickelodeon is another lightning rod. SpongeBob SquarePants has existed as a cartoon for over 20 years. The first episode aired in May of 1999, I believe. Funnily enough, Pride Month itself was also first enacted in 1999 by Bill Clinton. History buffs, if I got that wrong, please correct me in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate. Nowhere in the past 20 years has SpongeBob been associated with Pride Month, and there absolutely were rumors and fan fictions made online about his association with the LGBT community in various different capacities, but largely speaking, it was not a part of the show's branding. The thing is, Steven Hillenburg, who has since passed away, may he rest in peace, was a marine biologist prior to writing the show, and officially came out with the position that SpongeBob simply did not have asexuality, much akin to real-life sea sponges, which reproduce asexually. This is not to say that SpongeBob cannot be loved, identified with, or appreciated by a wide range of people. The goal was to be funny and make a great cartoon, and that goal succeeded. But the problem is that almost anything imaginable just becomes a rainbow-colored "buy me first" sign as soon as the calendar hits June. Want more examples? A rainbow "Make America Great Again" hat from the Trump campaign in 2019. And in 2020, the administration alters existing healthcare protections in a way that has many activists in the transgender community concerned about negative future ramifications. I don't want to wade into the quagmire of what exactly the policy will do or result in, but the basic gist is that putting a rainbow on something, anything, with a simple marketing goal of achieving more viewership or support or sales has become an annualized phenomenon that has nothing at all to do with the actual support for the community. Nearly all of the products that adopt Pride branding have no further action or message. Listerine, mouthwash, Rainbow Edition. A rainbow sandwich, rainbow work boots, rainbow everything. But how many of these companies even donate a penny on the dollar to reputable causes as a result of items sold? Some do, sure. Most don't, though. How many transition their energy even 1 minute past midnight on June 30th? And how many have done any of this before the surge in commercial buying and celebratory enthusiasm associated with Pride Month for many years now became a consumer focal point? There is a nearly infinite number of examples to give here. YouTube itself might be the biggest culprit by far, as it changes to rainbow icons like clockwork each and every year, while simultaneously restricting and demonetizing certain LGBT keywords in video titles and descriptions. This is an issue that was officially disputed by YouTube, claiming that the algorithm just makes mistakes sometimes, which could very well be true, I'm not sure, and I've not kept track of the issue in real time since then, so there might be an entirely new reality to the situation now, but back when this was blown open by a creator named Nerd City, it became obvious that YouTube, being a global platform and all, and we know that geopolitical realities make it so that certain LGBT content is not accepted worldwide, period, let alone for monetization purposes, had decided to put worldwide advertising ease ahead of political and social issues, while outwardly projecting an image of "we care, we are on your side." How about their newfound initiative to devote $100 million to supporting black creators? Something that sounds good on the surface, yes, till one realizes that the long-standing reality at YouTube is hefty support for the already successful, often millionaire tier of creators at the apex of the platform. There are certainly a series of events and tactics possible which would result in this money having a relatively beneficial effect on the creator ecosystem at large, but the probability of that happening is almost non-existent, and the far more likely scenario is that these funds further increase the reach that multi-million subscriber channels already had and did not need any help with, when those in the community who would benefit tremendously and could very much use that support will never be seen or heard from because YouTube operates on such a massive scale. At the core of the issue is this: commercialization is not support. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It can result in products that people legitimately want and love. But the desire of these companies is that we as buyers will conflate the two and adopt a favorable opinion of them based on their commercialization of social and political issues, without having to ever do or follow through on any actionable or beneficial endeavors. I have long personally advocated that certain companies and services remain somewhat apolitical when possible, especially when it comes to gaming and the idea of escapism. I believe an effort should be made to, at the very least, only produce artistic works with a political undertone when that undertone is intended to be integral, since the idea was conceived. Basically, if it's going to be built with political themes, do it from the ground up and do it intentionally. Make it very deliberate. Don't just do it as an afterthought. You can have a game that focuses on whatever political or social issues you want, but when you make a game and then alter it just before the release window with a marketing checklist of, okay, this for this group, this for those activists over there, that right there to score some favorable headlines from Kotaku and Polygon, okay, nailed it. When you operate that way, it cheapens the overall value for everyone. The same is true of this corporate pandering carnival that we see in full swing right now. Rainbow everything for 30 days and then bye, on to the next thing. Donations to charitable causes in the face of social media rage, but none of that existed prior. And as soon as the winds change, it will dissipate like the smoke it really is. I'm not saying that I want companies to take firmer stances. In fact, I don't think there even is a right answer for most of them because they can do it, which is usually fake as all hell, uncomfortable pandering, or they can not do it, which easily results in anger and backlash. But no matter how they go about these things, someone is going to be upset. I guess my main message is that we as buyers, customers, and despite the word being somewhat derogatory, it's still very accurate, consumers, we as their support base, honestly, need to be more cognizant of the fact that all of these things are done to increase their bottom line. Again, exceptions, yes, but mostly true. So when events take place or cyclical commercial holidays come around, we don't fall into a repeating pattern that blindly rewards that behavior, which in turn exacerbates it. Basically, don't let a relatively surface level donation to a cause or a random rainbow product alter your perception of a company that still deserves every ounce of criticism and scrutiny that it did before. But that's it. If you want to support, there are links down below, merch, Patreon, Twitter, etc., as well as another YouTuber to support, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.